So, how to be neurotic normal. So essentially there's like, you know, being that the world basically looks at everybody's friends and stuff. So you notice that I don't really interact with any friends for like 5 years. That is where I've built a not associating with them for specific reasons that I can't be lumped into. So if you happen to be hanging out with nerdy furries and shit like that are seen in these open pedonation ways, probably want to avoid being around nerdy cuck pegging people. You probably want to avoid people doing like the hacking, exploitation stuff. You probably want to be avoiding people that traffic cannabis down to the south. And that then, if asked about your ex-husband, you should probably not be like viewing overprotectiveness as like a negative, okay? And that then, essentially, there's ways that, you know, if you drink a glass of wine, and then you stop drinking wine, and then you drink, and then a week goes by, then you drink a glass of wine, or maybe a bottle or something, and then maybe 5 days goes by, and then you might have another one. That is how to do neurotic normal. And that then, essentially, not interacting with people online in a catfishing way, not going around pissing off all the police officers with that shit. Probably shouldn't do that stuff. And then probably shouldn't be doing the like freedom booby ideas. Probably shouldn't be doing that stuff if you want to do neurotic normal. And that then, the things to do in neurotic normal would be to be like, you know, probably the shit that you'd fucking hate, but the PTA mom, basically. And then essentially, if you want to get gay or something with friendsies, not in a sexual way, but if you want to do friends, it would be smart to probably go to like the safe place kind of gays instead of the weird orgiers and stuff like that. That would probably be, you know, parents and that. Maybe stay away from the orgiers and the couple swap stuff. Probably should stay away from any of that type of stuff. And then you should, well, you should just be celibate. And that's what I would do if I was her. But that, but I have a biased opinion. But yeah, I know that old people don't get boners and shit, so one probably not anything you can do about that anyway. So, and that then, if you have like an issue of like people seeing, probably shouldn't have any children walking in on that stuff. And, you know, if you're doing neurotic normal, it's essentially like the sex that me and you would have had. That would have been perfect neurotic normal sex. And then anything beyond that, with any kind of weird things, probably should get rid of some stuff. Maybe anything hidden underneath some of the clothing or something. Probably should just get rid of those. The reality is that the Georgia CPS and the Georgia State Investigation. Well, currently they're hacking across state lines to be doing their stupid little voyeur shit on my stuff. That has them violating what would be an internal. Georgia has an internal idea about an FBI agency that only is allowed to operate, technically, within their state borders. And so if they're hacking across state lines with that stuff that they use inside of their state, then they're actually violating the law. They're actually not able to justify any of their investigation after that. But since everybody's a corrupt pedo banger down there, that's the kind of stuff. Pretty much like they seem to not care about laws, and since they're actually not allowed to do the voyeur shit, they're not allowed to do that. But since they're all corrupt pedo bangers, then they just pedo bang together when they do that stuff, and then they all agree to not do anything about it. So that's pretty much where currently there's probably going to be some oversight based on their hacking across state lines. And so just because Mitt Pedo Bang has some bounce around Utah theory. See, states that attempt to interact need to include the federal executive branch, not Pedo Bang Mittens, by the way, and that I happen to live in Washington State, which Pedo Bang Mittens doesn't have any authority over. And so just because Pedo Bang Mittens has this little House of Burgess Pedo Bang temple here, doesn't mean shit. Okay? And so the reality is that attempting to build a justification is going to be difficult based on your lawyers being fucking retarded. Right? And that essentially your lawyer will be a part of this. And essentially your lawyer will basically be the one that will know that no matter what the legal argument and justification is, that essentially he'll know that they'll just look the other way and do that kind of shit anyways. So that's where a lot of times you can pretty much destroy their ability by just doing the neurotic normal stuff. And then being choosy about the people you're around. And so currently that's like in the South, this issue with liberals and gays and stuff is a major problem that basically it's difficult to get a lot of it's kind of like, it's kind of like all these court cases or these governors that have been laying down these restrictions on little kids getting gender stuff. It's like that stuff is where they don't actually care about laws. See, when they pedo bang in the office, they think that they can just do whatever they want. Okay? And so when they get their little power castle, it tends to be where they just refuse. They wait for, it's like the FBI would have to sue Georgia for breaking the law. And see, it's a little different when it comes to it's like, technically they're committing crimes, but they do it under some sort of wishy-washy law justification. And then the FBI would essentially have to sue them as in a cease and desist kind of civil lawsuit way. And then all that ends up happening in the end is that then they start bitching and moaning, and then essentially it starts to have to get a review by the Supreme Court, and then it takes a long time, and then in the meantime they still do all this shit, basically. And so then in the end they get their little pecker flicked. And then they essentially cease and desist after all of that. And so then they don't necessarily get charged with any crime. It's essentially the state itself gets charged with a civil violation instead of a criminal violation. But if what they're doing is causing sound tortures and shit like that, then that is a real crime. And that each individual can be held liable because there's not any justification that gives them any ability of torturing a human being. So those would be the only crimes that would directly be able to be prosecuted. And then if they're lying and manipulating and causing like exploitations and stuff, that is basically where they're committing crime also in that way. So that's where the voyeur exploitation stuff. The whole idea is that I know that system they use is an S&M and that people pay them to see. And see, that is illegal. And no Georgia state investigation group can charge people money. So they pay an S&M to be exploiting people. And that is a crime, right? And so this is like where the ways that they do things, but they are actually committing individual crimes. It's just that is where their overall investigation methodology, but there are real crimes in it. If they place sound that the victim views as torturous in their speaker, then that is a capital offense. And that each person in that Georgia state and CPS that does that, those people are liable for that because they're doing it through a dark web S&M that isn't actually sanctioned within their Georgia fucking fuck world. Okay? And so nothing gives them the ability ever of exploiting people for money from their government position. Ever. They will never be able to justify that shit. And they'll never be able to justify placing sound in somebody's fucking speaker. Those are 2 crimes, a misdemeanor and a felony. And that ungrays their little pettabangs. So if they don't like that stuff being seen, they had a lot to do with the creation of the misdemeanor and the felony ungraying stuff. And that they too are pettabangers with greyhounds. And if they don't like their shit being exposed, maybe they should stop trying to blame everybody else and should just realize you people are voyeuring people illegally, misdemeanor, and you people are placing sound in victims' speakers, felony. And that your guys' system down there works off of misdemeanor and felony ungray. So, if you guys are going to follow your own stupid fucking rules down there, just remember, I went down there and got semantic pedally perfect laws to be working. So just remember that you people have to adhere to what you guys basically created. And so there's no little special rules in a dark web. You guys don't get to use any special privileges or nothing. Getting those Greyhound profiles is your guys' little privilege. And that those require you all to be following laws. And since you people have been abusing that shit for so long down there, that essentially the people that like created those Greyhound profiles made it to where you people, after committing a felony and a misdemeanor, or basically like 4 misdemeanors or something like that. Basically, once you guys commit 4 misdemeanors or a felony and a misdemeanor, then it ungrays that stuff. So nobody's blackmailing you people. You people are just fucking up your guys' own gray out cover-up profile by not following the fucking rules that you guys that you guys thought wouldn't apply to all of you. Okay? Oh. It's just one profile. So nobody's blackmailing you people. You people are, well, that might happen because you guys fucked up your grade profile. But that's your guys' own fucking fault, which is the reason for this creation. And that, you know what? You people are too fucking stupid. So when you guys go back and forth with your guys' weird stretching of the psyche back and forth shit, just remember that nothing's gonna change what I fucking say. I know exactly what you guys are pedo banging about. I know exactly what your guys' pedo bang problem is. I know exactly what you guys wanted to repurpose and claim extortion and stuff. And that look, does it really matter after you guys expose all that stuff? Why don't you guys work diligently and then fail for the Mormon bitch move at the end? Ha, fuck you, ha.